we have to appreciate the support given by the Suni Shanta Foundation, and we also have to make a note of Mr. Lanka Shanta, the son of Mr. Suni Shanta. He was very sensitive about this issue because he wanted to ensure that the words are pronounced properly. Most political movements and civil movements are actually not aware of its objectives, its directions. So it is important for any organization, for any movement to very clearly understand its objectives, its achievements, and its directives. So language is also a very powerful tool in transmitting these objectives and these ideals. Here we have a set of people who do not understand the spoken languages, and it is because of that reason that we have invited a sign language interpreter here who can convey this message to those who cannot understand the common languages. And now I would like to invite the senior lecturer of the University of Sri Chaudhanapura, Mr. Anuruddha Pradeep Karunsurya, to introduce the panelists, or rather to introduce this topic. Good morning, everybody. Nearly a month ago, we founded this name 43rd Brigade, or other 43rd Senanke. So when we first introduced these, people were curious as to what this meant. The society was actually curious about what this name was. I think by now the people have got to know as to what this 43rd Brigade is. Within this month, I think it has crept into the society. In 1943, the education revolution took place in this country. So this name, 43rd Brigade, is representative of that particular educational reform or education revolution. In 1943, Dr. Kannangara, C.W. Kannangara, introduced the Free Education Bill to Parliament. It was a revolutionary attempt. It was revolutionary in terms of economy, so in terms of social development, economic development, and cultural development. We were able to revolutionize the society as a result of this effort. This was an attempt to give an opportunity for a child to decide his destiny about the destiny based on his potentials, his skills, and his abilities, and not based on his family background. So it is the introduction of the free education which has actually laid the foundation for this particular revolution to take place. The enthusiasm created by free education was not exploited by the successive governments. And when the parents did not see the results of free education reaching out to their children, they explored other avenues like private universities and foreign education and so on and so forth. Actually, we have seen the results of this revolution everywhere. In sports, for example, we were able to get the World Cup. Even though we did not have, even though we didn't know people who could not speak English properly, and even though our people, even though there were members in the cricket team who did not actually know the English dining table etiquettes, those guys were able to win the World Cup for us, and our soldiers were able to win the war that could not that had plagued this country for more than 30 years. And in fields like accounting, medicine, IT, in all these sectors, we find children who have come from the marginalized families, marginalized groups, and from poor families. This change has actually contributed the society immensely. But unfortunately, we have now understood that the progressive social development or the revolution has not taken place in one sector, that is politics. It is true that the elites lost their grip in politics. There were doctors and lawyers from such elite families those days, but now we don't have lawyers and doctors from such families alone. Actually, there was certain social groups that have changed the political destiny of this country. In the field of politics, we see that wretched tradition. Even if a person from a good background gets into politics, he too will have to get into that wretched system. At the last general election, there was a common acknowledgement in the society, or common need in the society to send in more educated persons to parliament. But of course, today those educated people have become just onlookers. Martin Wickramasinghe, the renowned writer of this country, calls this political, they call this caste the Bamunu Kule, the feudal caste, the feudal class. Maybe those people have ideas about modernism. They have experience about the rest of the world, but they do not have the ability to plant that modernity in the ground. These wretched political groups who control politics today do not know modernity. there is indiscipline in this politics as we see today. When Corona outbreak first, when Corona first came to this country, there were Facebook comments asking whether it has not reached Parliament. Even if a flood comes, the people hope that the Parliament would be submerged. And the general public are fed up of politics and the present politicians. A good middle class has now emerged. With modern urbanization, this class has expanded. But unfortunately, a group of political leaders to suit that class hasn't emerged. Today, if you look at rural politics, there is one group that controls the politics of those villages. They are smugglers who deal with black money. They are the ones who control their villages, be it the sports club or the Ayaka Sabha of the temple or community organization. They are the ones who control all those things. And in the upper sections, it is the big, it is the grown-ups of those persons in the villages who are found in the higher level. The children of education revolution understand this country. This group is a group that understands the feelings, aspirations of the people. And the other thing is that this group has seen modernization. They have seen the world. As I said earlier, they can speak foreign languages. Maybe they cannot speak languages including English according to the British system, according to the received pronunciation. But they have learned the languages and they are able to use them to communicate themselves. So if this group is to reach or if this group is to move up in the ladder of politics, there is one thing it has to do. Now we know that ours is a country from which a lot of people migrate to other countries. Our people do not want to remain in this country. So the challenge that we have is to make this country a country in which people would want to live. We have to be realistic. We love this country. This is a noble country for us. But we can't be the superpower of this country. But we must be able to live in this country in a decent manner. This must be a prosperous country. This must be a country with economic development. This should be a country with environmental protection, and also this should be a country in which national security is guaranteed. And also, this should be a country which is fair, in which fundamental rights are protected, the democracy is preserved, and social security is ensured. One of the main objectives of building the 43rd Brigade is to initiate a discourse in this regard. The second objective is to form a set of leaders for this objective. We have to create a country in which people would want to live in. The biggest challenge this country is faced with is very clear. The people had lots of hopes when this government was formed, but the government did not have a policy or a program to deliver the expected goods to the people. Actually, this must be this is actually a discourse to make this country a prosperous and fair and just country. And also, we must be able to generate a set of leaders from the grassroots to the top. We have to have a group. We have to generate a group of persons, and those persons in that particular group should love this country, should have a feeling for this country. The main objective of this is to have a balance between policies. The things that we think are good clashes with some other thing. Now, if we give full priority to national security, then we clash with human liberty, human rights, and so on. But if we focus only on democracy, human liberty, and human rights, then we would we would lose our grip on national security. So we have to have a balance between these things. If we ask somebody as to how national security can be guaranteed, then a person who has knowledge on that can say many things about the ensuring of national security. But he does not pay his attention to the protection of human rights, human liberty, and democracy. So, but we should not move towards such a direction. We have to have a balance between these two. The social justice clashes with economic development. If we look only at social justice, then a section of people would drop out of economic development. And if we think only of economic development and economic prosperity, the rights of the minorities would be lost. So we must be able to create a society in which the rights of all races and all religions are protected. If we think only about environment sustainability, then we would lose development. And if we think only of international solidarity, then we would lose our local identity. So this is the issue. This is more complex than we think it is. it is this challenge that all successive governments have faced. Therefore, the objective of this 43rd Brigade is to create a discourse as to how this balance could be established. In 2004 election, there were 39 members of parliament from the JVP, and they were elected by the SLFP voters. The people knew that these people would not rob, that they love the country, and they are skilled. At the last election, those persons who are known as Vyat came forward, putting the traditional politicians into the second place. The group that's come into power, those political parties or coalitions that came into power did not have any consensus on politics, on policies. Therefore, we have to have a balance between policies, as well as we have to build a generation of leaders. This is not that we have first formed the 43rd Brigade and then presenting it to you today. We are presenting the project of making the 43rd Brigade. We invite the society, we invite the educated persons, and we invite the ordinary persons to bring proposals, bring policies to us. And we are open to all leaders who come from all corners of the country. If those people love the country, if they are committed to the development of the country, we are willing to embrace them. And we do not appoint leaders of this movement. We are only appointing a group of coordinators. The role of the coordinator is to create or is to take forward this discourse on policies. They will coordinate that, and they will not give any leadership to that. We will appoint or nominate a group of coordinators now. And after the appointing of them, we will distribute to you the leaflet that contains our policies. I will now introduce this group. I invite them to come here and present themselves to you. Mr. Karunatha Paranavithan. He was a deputy minister of the former government. He is a postgraduate, and Anuruddha Pradeep Karunasuri, a lecturer. Sankalpa Marasinghe is a doctor. Sumedha Ratnayaka, he is an engineer and also holds a postgraduate on water traffic control. Dr. Priyankara Mahagamullagi is a dentist, graduate from the University of Peradeniya. He is also a lawyer. Dhanushka Ramanayaka. He's the one who competed there. He is a director of the SLBC. Was a project director of the Ministry of Megapolis. K. Sanjeev, media personnel. Writer to Rave. Deekshana Gammampilla. He's a journalist, a businessman, a political activist, and also a graduate from the University of Sri Javadanapura. Priyadarshini Ariratna. She's a civil society activist, former activist of National Movement for Social Justice. Dr. Shihan Ashish is a doctor, a student of Trinity College. He can speak 5 languages. That's a speciality in him. Sanjeev Ratnayaka. He's a student of St. John's. He's a quantity surveyor. Nirashan Vitanagi. He's a member of the Youth Parliament, a young entrepreneur, and a student of the Law College of Sri Lanka. Lukshan Tangaraja is a sportsman, main coach of baseball group of the Northern Province. M.I.M. Insaf is an entrepreneur and a human rights activist, a student of Zaira College. So these are our coordinators. These are our coordinators. So we will now invite our group of coordinators to distribute to you the policy documents. They have done this document in all 3 languages. And in addition to that, this can be accessed as a Braille document also. And now our coordinators will reach out to you with the policy documents. This is not just a document. We want you to obtain the general and the basic understanding of this document. We invite all those who join us through Twitter, Facebook, and other social media to peruse this document. You can use your language. You can use the language of your choice. www.43.lk is our website. You can log into that. You can log into that website and peruse all these documents, and also you can download these documents. you can also gain knowledge and understanding of various activities that will be planned in relation to this the 43rd Brigade. And if you feel that you want to have some discussion with any of our coordinators, you can do that too through our through your Facebook through our page. You can also listen to the proceedings of this event in English, Tamil, and sign language. Actually, what we are trying to do is to gather people who love this country, who have a feeling for this country. We have not barred anybody from entering this movement. If a person has an animosity over me, he can neglect me and join the movement and contribute towards this attempt to build this country, to make this country a better place for everybody to live. So we request all of you to join us. If we love the people of this country, we actually can make this country a better place, better place for everybody to live in. We want this country to be prosperous, and at the same time, the country needs to be just. If we contribute towards the economic prosperity and justice of this country, we do it for everybody. We do it for ourselves and everybody in this country. So 43rd Brigade is your brigade. 43rd policy is your policy. Anuruddha Pradeep Karnasuri explained as to what the 43rd Brigade is. We are a group of people who want to make this Sri Lanka, who want to make this country a prosperous country. Yeah, I would now like to invite a personality who has a passion for this vision and who has a passion for this this particular development. And we want to make this country we want to make this country a country where people would want to live in. Actually, we don't want to create kings. We don't want to build kings. We want to make sensible and sensitive people the leaders of this country. So now I would like to invite I would like to invite a former minister, member of parliament, partly Champekarana. Good morning, friends. In 1982, there was a presidential election in this country. And after the presidential election, as school students, we read the Irida Divina newspaper. Jayavardhana won that election, and after his victory, one A. Jayavira had published a small poem in that newspaper. The meaning of that was that Jayavardhana was able to crush the socialist movement. With the economy, that came into being in 1977. There have abundance of goods. But that was a shot on socialism. If that particular poet was alive today, he would have written a different poem. Today, there is no space for people to think independently. Our minds have been hacked by the internet, and media. There are certain media organizations that dominate that dictate the destiny of the people. They have taken control of the people. So I think the time has now come for us to talk about the emergence of a new era. All those who are present here have smartphones, and that is that means we have the fifth generation technology. And about science and technology, this is known as the 4G era. There is a smart age, or it is also known as a smart age. If we think of certain eras of war, this is identified as a fifth generation war. Here, what basically happens is that the mental processes, intelligent processes are crippled, And the fifth generation war is governed by artificial intelligence. As Noel Harari expressed, Homo sapien, Homo sapien era came to an end. And we have a new human whose intelligence is hacked by artificial intelligence. So actually we have come to a new age. Our generation, it is that era that represents our generation. So I emphasize that we have to make changes according to that generation. So why this 43rd generation brigade? There was a movement known as 43rd Brigade some times ago, initiated by George Keat and some other elite artists. The 43rd movement, that particular 43rd movement was about the revival of the art. But this 43rd Brigade is a brigade that has been developed or elevated by a revolution of education. The free education and free health sector are the two main, two strong indicators of this country. But we have actually, even though we are not satisfied with the distribution of services in these two sectors, we can be happy that we have almost reached the first world in terms of education, free education and free health. When this was introduced way back in 43, this was criticized immensely, and some people even worked against it. But gradually, the importance of free education was understood by everybody. And after British era, Sinhala and Tamil languages were used to impart knowledge to children, to give education to the children of our country. So the workers' children, cleaners' children, fishermen's children. These how the children were classified before that particular revolution. But after the revolution, though the children of those groups also were able to learn, and they were able to master various fields such as arts, music, sports, and so on. They were able to become strong individuals because of the education they received thanks to free education. The politicians who ruled this country for 70 years are responsible for this deterioration of the country. Even though our indicators of free education and free health are good, the overall economy of the country is in doldrums. There is a common or a popular understanding that before some decades ago, Sri Lanka was only second to Japan. This is just a populistic belief. If we look at per capita income, it is a lie that we were second only to Japan. It is only in 1960 that the basic indices came, and at that time the per capita income of Japan was 4 times that of Sri Lanka. We were second only to countries like South Korea. But we, without causing any oppression on the people, we have been able to increase our per capita income by 35 times since 1960. We have surpassed 12,000 rupees, $12,000 a year in terms of PPP. However, we have not gained economic prosperity. The due place has not been reached. Anybody who travels around this country would understand that. C.W.W. Kannangar, the socialist movement, and the Mahasangha struggled to create free education and free health. So in spite of those things, why have we been unable to establish economic prosperity? Our the Colombo harbor, which was the fifth, which had the fifth place some decades ago, has come down to the 60th place by now. In the last 70 years, only 4 families are responsible for this destruction. In the first, Senanayaka, and then Bandaranaike, and then Jayawardena Vikramsinghe, and then Mahinda Rajapaksa. These are the 4 families that are responsible for the destruction of this country. So it is wrong to blame all the 225 members of parliament, and they have not actually had any contribution whatsoever for this destruction. There is some significant difference in the Rajapaksa family. That is, unlike other 3 families, they have been able to take control of all businesses, including that of the small rural businesses, such as micro finance and so on. Sugar and coconut trade is also one such thing. There is no traditional political system in the grassroots. There is an indisciplined political movement that controls everything, and that indisciplined political culture has taken control of the economy too. Now, this is how this family is different from that of other families. when we gained independence in 1948, there have been 10 regime changes, including that of 2019. Even if there have been 10 regime changes, only there have been only 2 revolutionary changes. The first one is number 1 is 1956 revolution, and the other one is 1977 revolution. If you look at the history, we proudly say that we did not shed a drop of blood in order to gain independence in 1948. But later in 1960 there was a rebellion. In 1971 there was a rebellion. In 1988 and 89 there was yet another rebellion initiated by the JVP. And then we have the war from 1974 to 2009, and the latest being the Easter Sunday attack. These have been all these things have been bloody attacks, and they were soaked with blood. And we have to play our part in order to make a country in which our future generations will not will not shed blood. Just a turn of government, just a regime change will not make this country any better. That it may even make matters worse. And we want a rebellion or a revolution to take place like it happened in 1956 and 1977. So we want to invite all the educated persons, irrespective of their caste, creed, breed, race and religion, to rally round us to make this country a better place for everybody to live in. There are 2 challenges before us today. One is the economic destruction, or the economic precipice that we have fallen into. We are faced with a severe economic catastrophe. On the 10th of November, Prime Minister Maiden Rajapaksa presented the budget. According to that budget, the total expenditure of 2021 is 4,041 billion rupees, and for that he proposed to take loans to the tune of some 2,000 billion rupees, and the income is projected at 1,600 billion rupees. ₹1,070 billion have been allocated for construction of houses and roads. The final 2 are senseless. I asked a question from Honorable Prime Minister to show the income of 2020. The tax income of 2020 in 2020 was 1,040 billion rupees. we can never predict or we can never believe that this the projection would be a reality. There was a stimulus package that was introduced on the 1st of November, and the destruction caused by that stimulus package is so severe and so destructive on the economy of this country. Capital expenditure, the 100,000 kilometers roads and the construction of 33,000 houses. These are all dreams. This government does not have funds to spend for these. The total capital expenditure of 2020 was 1,040 billion rupees. We have senior officers of RDA here. We have only 35,000 kilometers of roads in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister in his budget speech also stated that 20 million rupees would be cost on 50,000 kilometers roads. The engineers who are present here knows that we need 20 million rupees to construct 1 kilometer of road. All these are dreams aimed at the provincial council election. How can we spend 3 billion rupees with just 1 billion rupees at hand? Now the present government is trying to spend 5 rupees with just 1 rupee in hand. Our government had 2 billion rupees, but we could not. We wanted to spend 4 billion rupees, but we couldn't do that despite having 2 billion rupees with us. All analysts, international analysts, have stated that the budget presented by the Prime Minister and the speeches made by the State Minister of Finance are very unrealistic. And foreign debt is also a serious problem. The Prime Minister submitted a cabinet memorandum to Parliament recently. And the Prime Minister stated that 6,865 $1 million are needed for the payment of loans. So it is very clear that 2,621 billion US dollars have been received from sovereign bonds and other private institutions. 2,624 billion have to be resettled on the proper date. In 2014, the Prime Minister quoting the officials stated that if he sold one of the things that he has planned, could settle all the loans. But even if you sell the China hub, we can only generate to $500 million. If we sell the Puttalam power plant, we can only generate $1.2 billion. The port city can only bring in $1.4 billion. Even if we sell these 5 gigantic projects, we can only generate $5.2 billion. So our assets are not at all sufficient. I think the plan is to sell the vital assets of the country, but that will not solve this problem. Because of that, our countries rated like Mozambique, come on. If we drop one step further, we are a bankrupt country. So this generation cannot salvage this country from this problem. So there must be a new generation to take this country forward by salvaging the country from this debt trap. Some people say that the economy suffered as a result of COVID, but the countries that were struck by COVID-19 were supported by IMF and the World Bank, but Sri Lanka did not receive a cent. The international institutions did not give the international institutions said that even before the invent of COVID, the economy of the country was in bad shape, and that was why no support was given by the international monetary institutions. Only 11 countries, including our country, did not receive assistance from such international assistance. COVID is not the problem. There is we have a bigger problem than that. Imran Khan of Pakistan, when he came to power, asked all international monetary organizations to move out. He said that we can get loans from Saudi Arabia and China. He said he thought that he would be able to run the country with the resources it had. But in 2 years he realized that it was not the truth. So after 2 years he had to go before those international organizations once again under very strict and tough conditions. And because of that, once again, Pakistan's economy has revived. So we have the need of skilled people. in sports, arts, every field. We need people with skills. We need skilled people in order for us to salvage this country from these traps. We need people with skills, and we also need people who love this country, who can make use of their skills to develop this country. And we need the Sri Lankans, the Sinhalese, Muslims, and Tamils with skills to come forward. So this is the objective of the 43rd Brigade. And we have to devise a set of set of policies, and we also will need a program. For that we need your contribution. Today, fear has crept into the minds of people. Fear of reprisals, fear of punishments, fear of death has crept into the minds of various people. This is the last tactic of unsuccessful politicians. We want a successful generation of people who can resist such repression from the politicians. We have heard about Prince Desi. This is found in our history books. Mr. Karunaratna Paranamithan is the one who reminded me of this story. This is a Sinhala poem.
කැලණියමතු වෙච්ච දියනා නෙවෙයි කියවිනි තත් වැසිය එනෙම් දියසෙන් රජු මෙදිනා.
This is that after 2,500 years, Prince Diyasen emerges to protect the nation. So this, when some political leaders emerged in the past, they thought, they tried to create among the people the opinion that the Prince Diyasen was coming. So we can't actually pin hopes on just one Prince Diyasen. King Parakram Bahu the Great, the King Parakram Bahu the Sixth, the great kings like Prince Diyasen, who elevated this country, who developed this country, who made this country a prosperous nation. So we want a generation of Prince Diyasen who can understand the reality, who can understand the pain, who can understand the woes of the people. I said that your phone is 5G and you are living in a smart age. Today the voice also 5G, and in leadership also there is something known as a fifth generation leadership. The leaders of the first generation exerted pressure on their subjects. They sometimes showed an enemy in order to govern. In the second generation, it was a planned order, command and control, like command and control in the army. And in the third generation, with management theories and so on, we saw the leaders who went along such policies. And in the fourth generation, we saw leaders who would who would share with their subjects according to the management policies of the country, of the world. But now we have the fifth generation leaders. The fifth generation leaders have four qualities. First, one is clarity. Second thing, liberty of acting. And third one, the most important thing, is the empathy. When you feel the pain and the grief of the other people, and you feel for them, that is the fourth one. Fifth one is the quality of moving forward by giving fruits. If the technology 5D, if the era of living is smart, then we do not need the leaders of the first generation. We should not be slaves of a few selected people. We should not actually live like slaves. We need a board of leaders. We need people who have empathy, and we need people who are creative, and we need a generation of Prince Diesen. So, like you all gathered here today, in future too, let's come together and design policies let's all work towards the prosperity of this country. From Nellati College the north, and from Vijita College of Dikwal, we have to develop everything. We have to create this five generation leadership. Thank you. We invite all of you to become members of this DSN generation. We need your contribution to make this effort a stronger one. We have hopes on it. With the end of this event today, we hope that this will reverberate throughout the country. Let's rise up for the national anthem.
Peace.